Welcome to State of the Offense. Today we will break down the running back situations in the NFC North and its impact on fantasy football. We will cover all of the top 48 running backs who play in the division. The Chicago Bears had the most complex backfield situation to figure out this year. Last year's lead back, David Montgomery, went to Detroit in free agency, and his former backup, Khalil Herbert, along with free agent acquisition D'Onta Foreman and draftee Roschon Johnson, will battle it out for the position. Justin Fields is a major factor in trying to read the situation because Fields controls so much in the running game. He had 300 more rushing yards than Montgomery did last year. The lead running back in Chicago may not have much relevance in fantasy football because of Justin Fields. Khalil Herbert was fairly efficient in limited action last year with a 5.7 yard per carry average. His 731 rushing yards and only 301 snaps was also very strong. D'Onta Foreman was the leading rusher in Carolina last year with 914 yards rushing, so he will play a lot. In addition to Foreman, the Bears drafted Roschon Johnson in the 4th round from the University of Texas. Herbert is probably the best receiver of the three, and he is the quickest of the three. Foreman and Johnson are big physical backs who will be tough to tackle late in games. I think that this will be a committee that will ride the hot hand all season. Any of these three players might end up being the top fantasy producer by the end of the year. Herbert is the only running back getting drafted in the top 48 right now. He is getting drafted as either the 35th or 36th running back, and his overall ADP is between 104 and 114. Yahoo ranks Herbert as their running back 31 and their 80th player overall. ESPN ranks Khalil Herbert as their running back 33. I'm slightly higher than ADP. Herbert is my running back 30, and he's my 100th player overall. Longtime fantasy star Dalvin Cook is now a Jet, and the Vikings have decided to promote his backup, Alexander Mattison, to the top job in Minnesota. Mattison has had some good moments as a fill-in for Cook in his 4 seasons, but his numbers overall are fairly average. There's a training camp battle between 3 recent Viking running back draft picks, Dwayne McBride, Ty Chandler, and Kene Nwangwu, for the backup job. Chandler and Nwangwu are both very fast and provide a change of pace from Mattison. McBride was drafted much lower than Chandler and Nwangwu, and I expect that McBride will end up as a practice squad player. As far as the running back roles are concerned, Cook dominated the snaps all 3 downs. Mattison does not have the receiving chops of Dalvin Cook, but it might not matter much because the Vikings have excellent weapons at wide receiver and tight end in the short passing game. Drafters seem to think more highly of Mattison than I do. He is the running back 23 drafted, and he's going in the 61 to 67 range of the draft. ESPN ranks him as their running back 18, and Yahoo ranks Mattison as their running back 22 and their 48th player overall. There is no way that I'm touching this guy in this area of the draft. This is a matter of an overinflated value at running back because of position scarcity. Alexander Mattison is in a good offense that will score points because of the weapons in their passing game. I rate him as my running back 28 and my 92nd player overall. Detroit had fairly successful production from their running backs in 2022, but they decided to move on from their top 2 backs in Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Williams ran for over 1,000 yards and he led the NFL with 17 rushing touchdowns. DeAndre Swift was a former Lions 2nd round draft pick who they decided to move on from due to his injury history. In the offseason, the Lions decided to sign David Montgomery as Williams' replacement. In the draft, the Lions used the number 12 overall pick on Alabama's Jahmyr Gibbs and then traded DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia on draft weekend. Whether or not these were the right moves for the Lions remains to be seen, but the Lions are viewed as a team on the rise by many. In Chicago, David Montgomery did not have the offensive line that he will have in Detroit, but the attention Justin Fields attracted in the running game would make you think that Montgomery would have been more effective than he was last year. Khalil Herbert outpaced him 5.7 yards per carry to 4 yards per carry. Montgomery was a solid receiver, but Jahmyr Gibbs will end up with most of the passing down work because that is the strength of Gibbs' skill set. Montgomery was the running back 23 in points scored last year with the Bears, and his 10.3 fantasy points per game was 31st in the league. Nothing to get really excited about. In fantasy drafts, David Montgomery is going between the 26th and 28th running back spots. His overall average draft position is between 75 and 82 overall. Yahoo ranks David Montgomery as their running back 24 and 62nd overall player. ESPN ranks him as their running back 26. Jahmyr Gibbs is a special talent. The only part of his player profile that is questionable is his size. Jahmyr Gibbs is only 200 pounds, which is small for the NFL. Fortunately for Gibbs, David Montgomery can be used on the routine plays and in the power game. The role Gibbs will have should be very similar to the role that DeAndre Swift had the last 3 years. The Lions' passing game, once Jameson Williams returns in Week 7, will have two dangerous short and mid-range receiving options with Amon-Ra St. Brown and rookie tight end Sam Laporta, but with game-breaking speed as well with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. Even before Williams comes back, the Lions should be very productive in the passing game, which will play right into Jahmyr Gibbs' skills. Gibbs is getting drafted as either the 15th or 16th running back in fantasy now. His overall ADP is around 38 or 39. Gibbs will be much more valuable in points per reception scoring systems. I believe that both Lions running backs are a bit overdrafted now. Montgomery is going in the 7th round as the running back 2 on a team that mainly passes the ball. Montgomery is one of the best backup running backs in football, and that is how I grade him. David Montgomery is my running back 34 and my player 112 overall. I rank him 3 rounds lower than ADP. His upside will be limited because of Jahmyr Gibbs. It is also unlikely that he will come close to the 17 touchdowns Jamal Williams scored last year. In 4 years with the Bears, David Montgomery has scored a total of 26 rushing touchdowns in his career. Jahmyr Gibbs is my running back 15, which is the consensus on him, but instead of rating Gibbs as a high 4th round pick, I rank him as my 50th player overall. I love what he'll do in PPR leagues, but I'm not sure if he'll do much in the running game to justify a 4th round draft selection. 2022 was a very down year for the Packers passing game. Because Aaron Rodgers struggled with a few nagging injuries and he was trying to break in rookie wide receivers in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs in the place of an all-pro Devontae Adams, the bright spot in the Green Bay offense, though, was the reliability of the backfield of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. The Packers as a team ran for 2,113 yards, with Jones and Dillon combining for 1,891 of those yards. The running backs also combined for 601 receiving yards. With the elevation of Jordan Love to the top quarterback spot, the Packers will still be young in the receiving game, so Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon will continue to combine to be prominently featured in this offense. A.J. Dillon is clearly the running back 2 on this roster. The only category where he was better than Aaron Jones was his 7-2 advantage in rushing touchdowns. Dillon is a well-rounded back, and he's entering his 4th year in the same offense, but his future is still ahead of him. He still provides reasonable value as a backup running back on the bench of your fantasy roster. Aaron Jones was a very good dual threat as both a runner and receiver. 1,516 scrimmage yards is nothing to ignore as a fantasy football player. Jones averaged 14.7 fantasy points per game last year, which was 11th best in the NFL. He was also the running back 8 in total points scored. A.J. Dillon averaged 8.9 fantasy points per game, which was 43rd in the league, but he was the running back 32 in total points scored. Going into 2023, it is reasonable to think that both Jones and Dillon will continue their productivity. They are both efficient and they have a proven veteran offensive line group to block for them. Both players will probably do well in the passing game, as young quarterbacks have a tendency to check down to running backs quite a bit. I'm a little lower on A.J. Dillon than the current ADP. He's my running back 36 and my player 114 overall, which means that I value Dillon about a round later than where he's actually going. I'm pretty close on Aaron Jones. I rank him higher within running backs as my running back 10. I rank Aaron Jones pretty close to his ADP. He's my number 37 player overall. If you like today's coverage of the NFC North running backs, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.